Oh. Greetings and welcome, people. Well, this Sunday afternoon turned out a lot better weather-wise than the weather forecast had us believe it was going to be, and I, for one, am very happy about that. Usually the weather forecast is wrong the other way, so it's going to be nice, and then it's rubbish. So I'll take this any time. So again, I had a few ideas of something to talk about today, and I think it's about 2 or 3 different things, and I basically discounted 2 of them for the time being, because they probably ran the risk of turning into grumbles, if not rants, and today's too nice a day for that. So I thought I'd have a little chat about the dual dash camera system that is on this bike, the Blueskysea DV526 dual dash camera system. I thought I might as well do a roundup of it, my thoughts and opinions. I know it hasn't actually been installed on the bike for long, so you might say, well, you haven't lived with it that long, you haven't given it a chance to settle in or whatever. But then I thought to myself, well, it's a dual dash camera system. It's not going to settle in. There aren't many settings and things I can play with to see if I can improve things or change things. And I thought, well, why not? I'll just go ahead. I've already reviewed some footage from the camera, which I've already showed everybody. I'll put a link up here in the corner to the video, or I'll just link it in the description to the vlog of just the dash camera footage. But I thought I'd just run through a summary of pros and cons. And as these things normally go, I'll start with the pros first. Pro 1, the cost. When I bought this system back in 2019, it was on reduction from, I think it was 120 I'd seen at other places, to £80. Or it might even have been 70, I can't remember now. I'll look it up and put it on the screen. So that was more like my price range. I don't have that much money for things, so I have to get what I need at the best price I can. Pro number 2, it had dual 1080p cameras. Many of the other systems in the budget price range had a 1080p front and a 720 or even a VGA standard 480, something like that, rear camera. Excuse me, I didn't want that. Now there is a caveat on the 1080p thing, which I'll come to a bit later on. So pro number 3, it takes a decent size SD card, maximum 128 gigabytes, which is what's in there at the moment. Now with 2 1080p cameras, I think I've discussed this before, that gives about 10 hours of recording time, which is more than enough for, even if I was travelling away on a journey, a tour or something like that, I could record all day, and if I wanted to, transfer the footage to something else and record the next day, etc, etc. Pro number 4, it's reasonably discreet. The cameras themselves are a bit bigger than I thought they were going to be, but not too bad. The brackets for the cameras are they're basically stamped out of fairly thin metal and folded, so they're quite low profile. I'll try and put a picture on screen now. Some of the other dual dash camera or even dash camera systems have got quite large, bulky, moulded plastic mounts. Not quite as big as a GoPro mount, but big enough. Also, the recorder unit itself with the screen is quite compact and quite nicely finished, and that is now residing under the pillion seat of this bike, and it seems to be quite happy to be there. Pro number 5. Sorry if I missed one, but I think I'm on number 5. Is the peace of mind I get from knowing that I don't have to worry about whether the battery's going to last, whether I've started it to camera up, whether I've started recording, any of those things. It's powered from the bike battery, not quite immediately as soon as I turn the ignition on, but I'll come to that in a minute. And it goes off when I turn the ignition off. So, and it does have I think it has a parking monitor mode as well, but I would have to provide separate power for that, or direct power from the battery, which I probably wouldn't want to do. And Pro number 6, which again is a conditional one, which I'll come back to later. There is plenty of wiring on the whole system for the 2 cameras and the remote control button and power adapter, that type of thing, to fit just about any bike out there. There's enough cable to fit the cameras and the control unit onto a fully dressed, huge Harley Road King, or whatever they're called, massive full dress tourers, a Honda Goldwing, BMW K1600 GT, any of these fully dressed large touring bikes, or even custom bikes. You can fit the camera. You've got enough cable to fit the cameras just about anywhere you want. And was there a Pro number 7? I had all these worked out in my head before I came out, and of course, typical for me that as soon as I start riding, these things go out of my head. Excuse me. If I think of any other pros, I'll come back to them, but now let's go on to the cons. The first con, I'll refer back to the dual 1080p resolution. If you've seen the video footage on the link on the LinkedIn video, you would probably be as disappointed as I was in thinking, is this really 1080p? I was not impressed with it at all. I've checked the attributes of the video files and they all do say they're 1080p resolution, but I know it's perfectly feasible to write the attributes of a file to be whatever you want, and to a degree, to me, they look like upscaled 720s, and where the upscaling hasn't been done particularly well. Now, this does link into the fact that this particular system that I've got on here is no longer a currently promoted system. I think the reason I got it reduced was because it was basically end of line. The distributor, Blueskysea, don't even list it on their website anymore. I can't even find out what the latest possible firmware for it is. I think I'll probably have to contact them. If I do contact them and I hear anything, I'll update. So yeah, the video resolution, video quality is a bit disappointing, shall I say. Caveat number 2 2, or con number 2, sorry, the aforementioned cable lengths. Now, each camera has a short tail to a plug on it of about 8 to 10 inches, and the main recording unit has a tail on it to a plug of about 8 to 10 inches. But you cannot plug the camera directly into the recording unit. You have to use the supplied 3-meter extension cable. 3 meters. Now, even going from the front of this bike to the recording unit under the back seat, that didn't use the whole 3 meters. That probably used less than 2, maybe nearer 1.75, 1.75, something like that. So even with the lead from the camera at the front to the recording unit, there's still a coil of cable under the back seat. So you can imagine that the rear camera, which could probably have connected directly into the control unit without using any extension cable, it was so close. Obviously I've had to now store 3.5 meters or 3 and a bit cable, 3 and a bit meters of cable under the back of the bike somewhere, which I have done, but I'm not happy about it. I would rather have been able to not use the extension cable if I didn't need to. And con number 3, there was no GPS on this particular system. That was something I had to compromise on to get the unit, the system at the price that I could afford. Excuse me. So it's not really a fault of the system as such. It's just something that it would have been nice to have had. Con number 4, the control unit only provides you with the ability to either take a photo or to lock the current video clip. It does not allow you to start and stop recording. Obviously, in a sense, that would detract from the automatic nature of the system if you needed to start and stop it manually, but it would be nice if that facility was on there. Excuse me. And con number 5, whichever one it is. The next con is, although this system was never intended to be used as a source of motovlogging footage to make videos to put up on YouTube, it would have been nice to have been able to supplement the footage from there and from here with footage from the front or rear of the bike as and when possible. Now, not only does the quality of the footage not bear up to being used for things like that, well, I mean, it's just barely acceptable. To be brutally honest, the quality of the footage from the dash camera system isn't really that much worse than the quality of the footage from this helmet camera, which was not a cheap system, I have to say. Well, I suppose it was fairly low cost compared to, say, a Drift or a Sony or something like that. It wasn't what I would consider to be cheap. But if you're going to use the dashcam footage in a video, one thing to bear in mind is that because it's a dashcam system, the beginning and end of the videos, of the clips, overlap. Now that's quite common in most systems that do short clip recording. They normally overlap by about 1 or 2 frames. On this system, each clip overlaps the previous one or the next one by 25 frames. Yes, 25 frames. Now on a PAL system which works at 25 frames a second, that's obviously a whole second of video to think about. And if you're recording in 3-minute clips, then if you want to trim out 25 frames from the beginning of each video clip, then you've got a bit of a job on your hand. I mean, so I suppose some of the higher end video editing software might be able to set up a macro to do that, but that's not something I can speak with any authority on. So the only solution I came up with on that was to set the clip length to 10 minutes, so you're reducing the number of clips to a third of what they would have been. So if you do want to include any reasonable amount of footage, you've got a lot less clips to deal with. And one other issue that I didn't really have as an issue as such, but I thought might become an issue if I was not careful, was that because this system works off of a ignition switch supply, I was quite concerned that the recording system would be initializing at the same time as I was cranking the engine. Oh, excuse me. Oh dear, to start the bike. And of course, like with any vehicle, when you're cranking the engine, goodness me, I hope you can hear me over this. It's a very windy day today. I'm running right into the wind at the moment. When you're cranking the engine to start it, you're sucking a lot of power out of the battery, so the voltage in the system is jumping up and down all over the place, and I was concerned that that might, at the very least, cause video file corruption, or possibly even worse, damage the control unit itself, the recorder system. So what I did was I located what's called a delay relay, and it's an adjustable one, so I'll put a picture in again, and it does work in a bit of an odd way, but essentially what it does is as soon as you switch on the ignition, the relay picks up the power, but instead of powering on the device immediately, it waits for whatever time interval you've set before doing so. And I've got mine set to delay for 40 seconds. So basically, if I haven't got the bike started from ignition switch on to 40 seconds, then it probably isn't going to start. And I've never had that problem, so that's okay. So what I think I might do is, at a suitable opportunity, you can see the control unit down there on the handlebar. You can see the green light flashing, so that basically indicates that it's running and recording. So what I'll do is, at a suitable opportunity, I will pull over, switch off, switch the ignition back on and start the bike. I'm not too worried about losing sync on the dash camera system because, as I say, I'm not using it for motovlogs, so that doesn't matter. But I think there's somewhere up here I can just pull off the road. Scooter. Quite happy to nod to scooters. Right, thinking about getting one myself, so. So, going to stop somewhere up here. In fact, just up here indeed. There we are. Goodness me, there's lots of people there. So I'll just stop here for a minute. Not in anyone's way, I hope. Switch off. And you'll notice the light on the control unit still flashes a little bit and then goes off. So now everything is switched off. Turn the ignition back on. Nothing happens there yet. So just continue to watch the control unit. I'm not pressing anything, I'm just pointing at it. And should be any second now. Switch is on. There you go. So plenty of time, and there it is recording. A bit of a thing going on there today. So in that way I think I've come up with some way of protecting the camera system from the wildly fluctuating voltage levels from starting the engine. So what would I say about the Blueskysea DV526 dual 1080p dash camera system? Yes, it is quite a mouthful. Well, given the quality of the video it records, and given that I didn't initially or really buy it for making motovlogging videos, I bought it as a dashcam system. I would sum it up in 6 words. And those 6 words are, for the money, better than nothing. For a system that just switches on and records, and yes, I have been checking on the video files, it does actually record. It's 80 quid for a dual camera system, but it's probably about as good as a 720p system for quality. No, you wouldn't be able to get any car registration plates if anything happened, but it would help establish who did or didn't do what in the event of an incident. It could help other road users if they got into a dispute over who pulled out in front of who, or who signalled or who didn't, because obviously I think this type of system would pick up flashing indicators even if you can't read the number plate. So as I say, for the money, better than nothing, and that probably does sound a bit like damning with faint praise. Would I buy it again? Not at 80 quid. Would I buy one for 50 quid? Maybe. Am I going to be looking for another system that is going to provide better quality video? Yes, I've already started, and I think I've already identified 2 potential systems. Now, of course, you have to be careful with all of these things that the marketing blurb for them is always, oh, these are the best things, you know, the video quality is absolutely brilliant, you can see everything in the dark. Well, that's another thing, I haven't tested this system riding at night yet, so I will get round to doing that, but to be honest, if it's not producing particularly good quality video during a bright sunny day like this, then I can't really see how it can produce clear quality video at night time with headlights, street lights, things like all stuff like that. Excuse me. So I think I've said in several videos, in fact there was even one of my videos that was entitled Get a Camera. Even if you don't want to get into motovlogging, you can at least give yourself some sort of protection by videoing your rides. Obviously you'll need a reliable camera system with good memory capacity and good battery life, and obviously a system that's powered off the bike battery, or at the very least by an external USB pack, is going to fulfill that second requirement. And I think most systems these days, even the GoPro clones, if they offer 4K capability, which is sort of pseudo 4K, I don't think it's actual 4K at all, especially if they're only about £30–40 for a camera. Then most of these cameras will accept cards 64GB or above, and if you get a good quality card, memory card, Samsung, Kingston, any of the big names, and don't buy a cheap SD card off of eBay, because the chances are it might have 128 gig printed on it, but it'll only be 8 gig or something like that, or even 4 gig on some of these things. Very dusty road. I'm not going to be throwing myself around on here. I certainly hope not. So as I say, the fact that it's a dual camera system, front and rear, is mounted on the bike, it's powered by the bike, it's got a large memory card, I don't have to worry about it apart from maybe once a week or so, once every couple of weeks, just checking the video files on there to make sure that it's recording okay, and also recognising the limitations of the system. Oh, a tree tunnel, very nice. So I think I'll take this opportunity to say thank you for taking a look, and hope you're all safe and well, hope you're all enjoying riding again, and I'll speak to you again soon, I hope. Cheerio for now. Bye.